All right, good day. My name is Sylvia Kafui Archer, and you're welcome to CRI-TV. Today, we have a special guest here who is on a working visit, and we'd like to know a lot of things from his working visit. He's in the person of the Deputy Director General of the Council for Scientific and Industrial Research, Professor Bosu. So let's hear from him his impressions and all other things concerning his working visit. Prof, you're welcome.
Thank you.
And good day.
Hello, Sylvia.
Okay, so yesterday you've been here for a 2-day working visit, and would want to know your impressions so far, talking about PED and Kafachi.
Thank you very much. You know, the DDG is the focal persons for the two projects, PED and Kafachi. Actually, Kafachi has more than one project.
Okay.
Let me start with PED. PED is a CORAF-funded project, and it's on rice and maize. And the goal of that project is to upscale agricultural technologies to support agricultural production. And the idea is that we already, CRI, CSIR, we have developed agricultural technologies over the years.
Yeah.
And a lot of what we develop is at the research experiment phase. So CORAF is helping us to upscale and let the technologies be made available to farmers. Okay. And so the presentations that we had and then the field experience shows that we've had a good takeoff of the project. Both projects started this year, January 2020. Okay. And when you talk about 2020, we all know what the challenge is. Yes. The challenge has been COVID. Yes. And so it went down a little bit, but the PIs led by the director and everybody, even in the midst of COVID, they have managed to undertake those baseline surveys that are the fundamental requirement for going to the farmers and looking at them. So far, I have to say that I have been very impressed for both. Even in the midst of COVID? Even in the midst of COVID, because, you know, the COVID comes with the word lockdown. We were all locked down. Yes. But let me say one particular thing that happened. For CORAF, for the PED, there's a component where there should be the establishment of a maize breeder plot, so that we can produce the breeder seeds to supply to farmers. And yesterday we went to the field, and I was impressed that the maize plot is already, they have ears, and very soon they will be harvesting. So it means that they were not sleeping under COVID. Yeah. For Kafachi, we have 3 projects that we saw today. I think CRI has, 2 other projects that are about wrapping up. We'll come back next time to look at them. But for the Kafachi projects on tomato, on rice, and then the last one is on the fall armyworm. Again, the principal investigators together with the director, they have made the necessary background studies, they have conducted the surveys, and so I'm very encouraged, very, very encouraged by what is going on. That even when we have challenges, our scientists are not sleeping, they are working. Okay, so with your impressions so far, that tells us that even though we are half through the year, for the rest of the year, you are optimistic that it's going to be a very, very good thing. Very optimistic, okay. And for the work plan, work plans that were shared, and I know that even when COVID was at its peak, when the scare was very high in the country, now we still have the cases, but the scare and the fear has gone down a little bit. So I know they will do a lot. They will be able to achieve their targets, and I'm looking forward to the end of the year receiving very good reports that we can send to Kafachi and also to CRI-TV.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now about PED. I listened to your presentation or your address yesterday, and you were encouraging those present that even with the little money that you have, they should be able to implement what is expected of them. Yeah. So are we hopeful that even with the little money, as you mentioned in your address, it's going to be more sustainable?
Yes, yes, largely so. Because, you know, yesterday I talked about my father's favorite proverb. Yes. And that is that, let me say it in Fanti, that you know, in other words, you may have something very small, but if you get your acts together and you apply wisdom and you apply prudence, you will be able to achieve. And I can see that happening. Okay. So I'm really looking forward to that this thing is going to happen. Another thing that maybe you will ask, but now that I've remembered, let me add. We have a number of projects, even here at CRI, at SARI, and across CSIR, and even across the nation. Okay. The themes are quite similar. Okay. And I think that we should take steps to make sure that these different projects that are working on the same theme will engage one another. Okay. So that we can have a multiplier effect to our project. Okay. So somebody is doing maize seeds at SARI. Somebody is doing maize seeds at CRI. And other places. Everybody can keep their budgets, can keep their objectives and work because of the donor differences. Yeah. But there's certainly a point where they can meet and interact so that we can have a much bigger impact on the nation. Yes, so that is that. Okay, so you earlier on mentioned the main objective of CRI-TV about the adoption of technologies and all. That means it's about dissemination. Basically, so how different is it going to be from the previous projects talking about dissemination? Okay, the previous projects, I have to admit that I don't know a whole lot about the previous projects, but my understanding is that the research projects are highly investigative. You know, so we use the project to find out what crop varieties, what maize varieties will be suitable, and so on and so forth. Okay. So basically, they are field studies, small scale testing, and for CRI-TV, it is moving it from the laboratory, from experimental field to the farmers, you know, so upscaling basically, yes. And that is the most important thing. That is the most important thing, yes. So that they know that there is a big research institute here in the country that helps in the sustainability. Definitely. Most especially for food security. That's right. And one last question about PED. I hear there's a challenge about the standardization of maize, or whatever it's being produced. About weight, that's about our weight. What do you have to say about that? Yes, that came up strongly, and I think it's something that it's a little troubling for us as a country at this time, where we still use general, one bag, and that one bag can be 50 kilograms at one location, and 30 kilograms, and the price is the same. And so the initial survey that was organized by the PED team on maize found that, especially at Csir and other places. We discussed it, and I think this is something that CRI, together with CSIR, with the kind of technologies and the scientists that we have, I think we should help this country. We should dig deep into that. Not only maize, even cassava, any other product. Why don't we? I think this thing came up some time ago, some years back in the country. And by the Ghana Standards Authority. So we partner with Standards Authority and all other stakeholders. And this is something we want to really pursue, to make sure that maize, cassava, plantain, everything it helps everybody. It helps the producers. It helps those who are buying. It helps everybody. So I think it's something we will pursue.
Okay. So about policy, what are the lessons, or what can you take out of the presentation or your visits to input in the policies? Yeah, I think I said it already. I think for me is the synergies of between projects. You know, otherwise it would seem as if we are going round in circles. And so if we have a project on maize that's looking at seed and looking at fertilizer, looking at everything, we should bring it all together and move together, and we need policies on that, and especially with also the standardization. I'm sure we have a policy on standardization, but then we have to move to the next step of making the policy work. Implementation. And sometimes we think about enforcing policies. Maybe at this stage, not necessarily enforcing as the word enforcing, but I think we should use some kind of incentive system. So if somebody is selling or buying based on accurate standardization and skills and all that, such a person should have some incentive. I don't know, whatever. I'm sure the policy and tax people will do. As against somebody who is going and just buying it, you know, with the bag and basket and all those ones. Thank you very much for your time. We appreciate it. All right, people. So that was a short interview with the Deputy Director General of CSIR, Professor Paul Bosu. He's in charge of research and development, and on a 2-day working visit. You can access this TV on Google Play Store, and then on our website www.cropsresearch.org. Stay tuned for many of our programs. Thank you.